best, you got them four abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show under the world of outlaws.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome tonight to the Online Sim Racing Network as we go back side by side with the PRL. And tonight, the PRL brings you the iRacers.Lounge podcast. That's the iRacers.Lounge podcast, brought to you by iRacers.Lounge.podcast. Here, this is round number 4 of 13 with the Precision Racing League AMSOIL American Iracing Sunday series, brought to you by AMSOIL, specializing in synthetic lubricants for vehicles and equipment, and they are the first in synthetics. I'm a commentator, Sean Zulu, and joining me up in the booth as usual is David Everly. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. How you doing, Sean?
Oh, doing good too, thank you. Just ready to go back side by side tonight at a super speedway Talladega. A lot of teamwork will be taking place tonight, and it's going to be very, very exciting. Let's take a recap from last week's race. That was round number 3 of 13, and that was held at Richmond International Raceway. That's Richmond International Raceway. In that race, we had Brian Wayand bring it home for his first win of the season. Christian Swenson came out second. Joseph Yankins came out third. Kevin Whitaker came out fourth. Seth Silverio came out fifth. Richard Regan Jr. came out sixth. Craig Hawkins came out seventh. Craig Hawkins came out 7th, Daniel Smallwood came out 8th, Corey Smith came out 9th, and James O'Brien did round up the top 10. And like I talked about, a lot of teamwork going to be taking place tonight. Every driver here does belong to a team, or at least most of them. But for the drivers in the top 10 from last week, Brian Wayand is with the Gen X Racing Team. Christian Swenson is Gen X Racing Team as well. Joseph Yankins, Gen X2 Racing Team. Kevin Whitaker, Gen X Racing Team. Seth Silverio, Gen X Racing Team, Gen X2. Richard Regan Jr., Gen X Racing. So top 6 drivers from last week with the Gen X team, Gen X Racing and Gen X2 teams. Craig Hawkins, Old Schools Motorsports. Daniel Smallwood, Old Schools Motorsports. Corey Smith is teamless at the moment. James O'Brien, Road Trip Racing. And rounding up the top 10. And now moving on to our current points standings, we have Kevin Whitaker. Kevin Whitaker still leading in points, but only 3 points ahead of his teammate, Richard Regan Jr., who is in 2nd place. James O'Brien, 3rd place in points. Craig Hawkins, 4th. Christian Swenson, 5th. Kyle Souza, 6th. Brian Wayand, 7th. Daniel Smallwood and Michael Knight. So Daniel Smallwood, Michael Knight tied for 8th place in points. We have Stephen Aguiar and Ian Lane tied for 9th. Joseph Yankins, 10th place driver. And we have Brandon Walter and Joshua Witherspoon tied for 11th place. So we have 3 sets of drivers tied for points in the top 11. So once again, Daniel Smallwood and Michael Knight tied for 8th. We have Stephen Aguiar and Ian Lane tied for 9th. And Brandon Walter and Joshua Witherspoon tied for 11th place in points. And going over the teams of these drivers in the points standings, we have Kevin Whitaker once again, Gen X Racing. Richard Regan Jr., Gen X Racing. James O'Brien, Road Trip Racing. Craig Hawkins, Old Schools Motorsports. Christian Swenson, Gen X Racing. Kyle Souza, Rim Riding Racing. Brian Wayand, Gen X Racing. Daniel Smallwood, Old Schools Motorsports. We have Michael Knight, GRG. Stephen Aguiar, Gen X2 Racing Team. Ian Lane, GRG. And here we have Joseph Yankins with the Gen X2 team, Brandon Walter, Road Trip Racing, and Joshua Witherspoon, GRG. So these 14 drivers are all top 11 in the points, and scanning the field here, scanning the points so far, the team that has the most drivers so far in the top 10, we have Gen X Racing. Let's see, yeah, we have 2 drivers in the Gen X Racing team. In the top 10, that's Kevin Whitaker and Richard Regan. We have Craig Hawkins from Old Schools Motorsports and Daniel Smallwood from Old Schools Motorsports, both in the top 10. And here, Michael Knight and Ian Lane, GRG Racing Team as well, in the top 11 in points. Well, moving on to tonight's race, the grid is already ready, and tonight's pole sitter is the 10 of Corey Smith. Corey Smith, the pole sitter tonight. 23, Craig Hawkins, 2nd. Colton Lane, 3rd. Brendan Chatley, 4th. We have Jeffrey Ford, 5th. John LaBeouf, 6th. Seth Silverio, 7th. David Dreckman, 8th. Dale Robertson, 9th. And Brian Wayand in the 10th place spot. And Daniel Smallwood 11th, Stephen Aguiar 12th, Kevin Whitaker 13th, Rob Thomas 14th, Christian Swenson 15th, Paul D. Johnson 16th, Kyle Souza 17th, Michael Knight 18th, Ian Lane 19th, and James O'Brien rounding up the top 20. Joshua Witherspoon 21st, Richard Regan Jr. 22nd, Stephen Mattox 23rd, Brandon Massey 24th, Ken Caruthers 25th, Brandon Walter 26th, Josh Mayu 27th, Eric Roberts 28th, Chris Perez 29th, Rory Collins 30th, rounding up the top 30. We have here some of these drivers not racing, looks like, and the last driver racing is going to be 78 of Ronald McManus, giving us a 30 car field here tonight. 30 car field at Talladega Super Speedway. And now we are rolling behind the pace car with Corey Smith in the lead. The pole sitter once again here, pace speed 65 miles per hour. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are dealing with a 93-degree Fahrenheit track temp. That's 93 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature. The air temperature is 81 degrees Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, afternoon with winds from the east at 8 miles per hour. And this track is 2.66 miles in length. And we'll be going around for 90 laps. That is 90 laps to complete tonight, so a lot needs to be done in order for the drivers to be able to make it. At the same time, the drivers do have to make at least 2 pit stops, so 2 required pit stops in order for them to be able to make it. And keep in mind, they do have open setups, so we're going to be seeing a lot of drivers having basically the machines will be handling differently. Some might get loose in the long run once those tires go away, but then keep in mind also tires here not too important, but they still have to take at least 1 set of tires the whole duration of the race, otherwise they will be extra loose exiting these turns. Everybody getting bunched up nice and tight, nice and strong, ready to go green flag for the first time. 90 laps, and tonight we're gonna complete 240 miles around the track. Exiting turn 4, Corey Smith getting comfortable as he is about to smash on that gas pedal here before too long. The pace car dips off, and Smith still holding pace speed 65 miles an hour. Gonna wait for the green flag. The green flag flies for the first time this time around, and Corey finds the gas pedal, and so does the 23 of Hawkins on the outside line. Lap number 1 of 90. iRacers.Lounge podcast race number 4 of 13. PRL American Iracing Sunday series, brought to you by AmSoil, specializing in synthetic lubricants for vehicles and equipment, and they are the first in synthetics. Already bump draft action taking place. Colton Lane pushing on the 10 of Corey Smith, and Hawkins gave up the outside line to fall in line behind 60 of Colton Lane, and is now 3rd place in line, and the outside line now being led by 5'9 of Brennan Chatley, being pushed by the 9'11 of John LaBeouf. Talladega Superspeedway, all about that draft, all about that teamwork. Without that draft or without that teamwork, you're not going to succeed, or at least the chances are very slim for success. And so far, 88 of Daniel Smallwood, 3rd place on the outside line behind 911 of John LaBeouf. Craig Hawkins jumps up high to dump the inside, and where you have the most machines is where you want to be. Basically, the more machines there are, the more bunched up they are, the more speed they carry, and the more momentum they have. Already one driver about to go 1 lap down, had a bad start to tonight's race. That is the 91 of Rob Thomas. Rob Thomas stays high and lets the fastest traffic by. And already with the 3 laps in, a lot of different packs have been formed. I should admit, ladies and gentlemen, Talladega is usually the worst race for some of the drivers here in the PRL from experience there in the past. So far, everybody just pretty much backing off, making packs of their own. But then if this thing ends up going green and we end up having green flag pit stops, all the drivers who fell back and created their own packs away from the lead pack will end up paying the price. So a second pack is about to be formed by the 5 of Kevin Whitaker. Kevin Whitaker here being approached by the 89 of Brian Wend, his teammate. Christian Swenson is next in line behind. Dale Robertson as well next in line. So far, these drivers not seeming to be in a hurry because the race is still very, very young. And behind them, a third pack being led by the 00 of Kyle Souza. It has the 98 of Ian Lane, 79 of Joshua Witherspoon, and the 18 of Stephen Mattox, including now the that's going to be the 99 of Brandon Walter. And now a fourth pack being led by the 22 of Richard Regan Jr. with the help of the 8 of Stephen Aguiar. It's not much of a pack actually, just a two-man team here so far. And behind them a bigger pack. This one being led by the 61 of Josh Mayu. It has the 11 of Brandon Massey. That's Brandon Massey. 77 of Ken Caruthers. 9 of James O'Brien. 41 Chris Perez. 35 Rory Collins. Ronald McManus as well in that mix. And that ends the pack. And looking there in the chat, we have a new viewer. If you're tuning in, that is Cylindrical Cat. Welcome back. Welcome to the Online Sim Racing Network. Hope you're doing well tonight. Some 3 wide going on up front. 89 of Brian Wayand trying to make the outside line work. The third lane on his own. From experience, that might not work. In the past, it hasn't worked quite well. But so far, he's doing well with the help of the side draft. Looks like Hawkins decided to assist him a little bit, but then actually thought twice and went back down low to tack back in behind the 88 of Smallwood. And now the 89 of Wayand has no choice but to back it down and fall back in line to avoid losing more spots and time. 14 of Paul D. Johnson getting overtaken. He's a road trip racing driver. He's been put down 1 lap here as we spoke. He's already being shown 2 laps down. Unfortunately, had a rough start to tonight's race, but looks like so far he's catching the draft of the pack. We have a 3-car push on the outside line versus about a 6 to 7 car push on the inside line. The outside line still does get the benefit of the slingshots off the exit of turn number 2 and 4. And the drivers on the outside as well can cool their motors better than the drivers on the inside. With that said, speaking of cooling motors, the drivers who are controlling the pace of the field, namely the 60 of Colton Lane and the 88 of Daniel Smallwood, have to back off at times to get some cool air into those motors to avoid overheating and blowing up their engines. But here's some 3 wide going on up front. 2 drivers, the old schools team here, 88 of Smallwood and Hawkins, get around the that's going to be the 59 of Chatley, and they clear him successfully. That was a good pass. Yep, those the 2 old schools motorsports drivers, 88 of Smallwood and 23 of Craig Hawkins, found each other early on and will try and stick together all race long, because once again, teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork is the way to go at Talladega especially, and without teamwork, you will not succeed. And now the outside line getting more and more bunched up as we speak. We have 5 machines. We have Smallwood, Hawkins, Chatley, John LaBeouf, including the 89 of Wayand, who is still trying to go 3 wide. But so far, nobody seems to be wanting to go 3 wide with him. John LaBeouf is going to ditch the outside line. He's going to fall back in line on the inside line in between the 95 of Jeffrey Ford and the 81 of Seth Silverio. 89 of Wayne, still determined to get the job done despite the odds being against him. He's using a side draft so far. The best thing he can do is get as close as he can to the middle lane. That way he's covering less distance because, ladies and gentlemen, the higher up the track you... Oh, some sideways action going on. A big wreck up front. 88 involved. Actually, scratch that. That was 89 of Wayne involved in that one. Also, the 60 of Cotton Lane, and the first caution on lap 10, entering turn 3.
As we take a look here, the 60, the 95 of Jeffrey Ford gets to that back bumper of the 60 of Colton Lane. Just does not hit him squarely, gives him a little hook. Fortunately, the 60 of Colton Lane is going to go around there. But that is highly unfortunate because that's going to take out some of these fast guys that were running up front here. So, unfortunately, these guys don't have any quick fixes. So they're going to have to get this damage repaired.
Oh man, indeed. Holy crap. Yeah, that was very, very bad. And speaking of those drivers it involved, so 60 of Cotton Lane, Kyle Souza, Brandon Walter, Brian Wayand. We also had Ian Lane, Paul D. Johnson, Christian Swenson, David Dreckman, Brennan Chatley. Yep, all those drivers got a piece of the action. Yeah, this is gonna shake things up, unfortunately, here early on with the first 10 laps in tonight's race. But going back up front, Daniel Smallwood, the leader behind the pace car. Second place driver Corey Smith, Craig Hawkins third, Jeffrey Ford fourth, and Brennan Chatley in the fifth place spot. And Chatley's machine with some damage, also moving sideways. So he's looking forward to going down pit road to hopefully get that damage fixed. And Smallwood now leading everybody down pit road. And ladies and gentlemen, usually when a wreck happens up front like that, it really collects the most drivers in the field. But this time, since the drivers, most drivers chose to break up into smaller packs away from the lead pack, they were able to avoid all that carnage at the same time, stay out of trouble, and that did minimize the wreck and not make it worse than it actually was. So great awareness by the drivers who might have been involved, and also the drivers who backed off before they got to the incident. The 88 of Daniel Smallwood leaves pit road, but he's beaten off by 23 of Craig Hawkins. Yep, Craig Hawkins takes over the race lead. Smallwood comes out second. Dale Robertson comes out third. Corey Smith fourth, and Jeffrey Ford in the fifth place spot. In the chat, we have Andres Nunes. Andres Nunes, welcome to the Online Sim Racing Network. Hope you're doing well tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, unlike tracks like Dover, Bristol, basically short tracks, unlike those tracks, damage does actually affect the drivers negatively a lot more here at Talladega than it does at those short tracks. So with that said, even though the drivers might get that damage fixed, or most of the damage fixed on pit road, they still will be way under speed compared to the clean machines out there, unfortunately. Yep, and cylindrical, yeah, absolutely. A lot of drivers, actually we had only 2 drivers took no tires but full tanks of gas. Basically, that was Daniel Smallwood and Dale Robertson. And actually looking at scanning the field right now, my stats are showing that Craig Hawkins did go down pit road, but looks like he just did a drive-through. Yep, so Hawkins did not take anything at all on pit road, most likely missed his pit stall due to the confusion. But Hawkins now going down pit road as we speak, but his teammate 88 of Smallwood staying out and taking back the race lead this time around. So only 2 drivers took 2 tires, and once again that was Daniel Smallwood and Dale Robertson, but the rest took 4 tires with full tanks of gas. And also keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the drivers do have open setups. They have been running open setups since last season. With that said, the drivers can tweak these machines to their liking. Some might make them loose, some might make them tight, and some might make these things balanced in a way where they're not too slow and not too fast either, but just pretty much balanced, and they'll be able to conserve their stuff then. And also, the open setups do actually play a very, very key role, especially at super speedways. And a lot of drivers might need to take tires and some might not, just depending on those setups. So it makes it very interesting when it comes down to it. And ladies and gentlemen, even though the drivers might not need as much tires as they would at a short track, they should at least take one set of 4 at least once all race long tonight, because from experience, ladies and gentlemen, these tires, the right side tires do wear a lot in the long run, which does make these machines extra loose exiting the turn number 2 and turn number 4. At the same time, also entering the turns, sometimes entering turn 3 and turn number 1, because you're carrying a lot of speed and not enough traction to hold that much speed, so they have to be on their toes and take those tires to avoid trouble. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the iRacers.Lounge podcast, sponsored by iRacers.Lounge podcast, round 4 of 13, Precision Racing League AmSoil American iRacing Sunday series, brought to you by AM Soil, that's AMSOIL, and they do specialize in synthetic lubricants for vehicles and equipment, and they are the first in synthetics. And we are now back 1 to green this time around, being led by 88 of Daniel Smallwood with the help of 95 of Jeffrey Ford. Outside line being led by Dale Robertson with the help of 911 of John LaBeouf. And a lot of drivers new to the top 10. We have Smallwood from 11th place to the lead at the moment. We also have Michael Knight from 18th place to 5th. Stephen Mattox from 23rd place to 6th. Chris Perez from 29th place to 7th. Ronald McManus from dead last, which is 30th place to 8th. Joshua Witherspoon from 21st to 9th. And Josh Mayu from 27th to 10th. Hey everybody, so far getting ready to go green for the first restart of the evening since the first caution. And here's Jeffrey Wood, Michael Knight, Chris Perez, Joshua Witherspoon here controlling the inside line in the top 10. And also we have John LaBeouf, Stephen Mattox, and Ron McManus, including Josh Mayu on the outside line here in the top 10 as the pace car dipping off before too long. Pace car is off and Smallwood still holding pace speed. The green flag flies and Smallwood finds the gas pedal, and so does a 3 of Robertson on the outside line, but looks like 95 of Ford was caught sleeping and now will pay the price, and so far pulling the 95, actually 64 of Michael Knight. Everybody goes down low, and 18 of Mattox left out high and dry, trying to fall back in line, but so far having no luck. So far, the outside line is dead. A lot of single foul on the inside line. We have Michael Knight, Jeffrey Ford, John LaBeouf, Dale Robertson, and the 88 of Smallwood on the inside. 41 of Chris Perez left out high and dry. It's going to get worse for him before it gets better. So far, he's hoping for a helping hand, a helping bumper, and that helping bumper being the 78 of Ron McManus approaching him. Chris Perez so far losing spots left and right. He is way under speed, but now 78 of Ron McManus getting sucked in by that draft from the back bumper of Chris Perez. But looks like it's not working quite well. There's still a big gap between them. McManus and Perez, that is. And now 60 of Cotton Lane to the inside. Chris Perez, Ron McManus finally fall in line between the 60 of Cotton Lane and the 59 of Brennan Chatley. And now the outside line being occupied by the 5 of Kevin Whitaker with his teammate 81 of Seth Silverio. At the same time, the other teammate, Richard Regan Jr. right behind. A 3-car push. Going back up front, some side by side for the race lead going on between 88 of Smallwood and the 911 of John LaBeouf, side by side. But so far off turn 4, John LaBeouf falls short due to 95 of Ford not being hooked up. And ladies and gentlemen, because of these setups, they do end up actually making a big difference at Talladega. So basically, for some drivers, they have good setups and their machines can suck up better and stick to the back bumper of the machine they're pushing. But other setups do end up struggling when it comes to pushing. Basically, what that means is that some setups are good at pushing, while some are not good at pushing, while others are good at leading. So it just depends. A second pack here has been formed. It's being led by the 1-8. Actually, that's the 1959. No, 99 of Brennan Walter. Yes, Brennan Walter is leading the second pack with the help of Brennan Chatley. It has the 5 of Kevin Whitaker, 81 Seth Silverio, 41 Chris Perez, 22 of Richard Regan Jr., Ronald McManus, and Stephen Aguiar in this second pack. And the third pack is approaching, being led by the 1-4. That's a 14 of Paul. Oh, Johnson gets spun out around. Caution flies. He got hooked by his pusher. Oh man, let's back it up on Paul Johnson and see what happened.
Yeah, just when they went to push there, Sean just definitely did not get square, and it just barely hooked him, and around 14 went, but everybody else was able to get down underneath. Only a 1-car accident here. Might be a little front end damage to the 11 machine. That's of Brandon Massey. Definitely not intentional, but that's just one of the beasts here at Talladega.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, that pushing does come with a price. Like you just said, And definitely unfortunate for 14 of Paul Johnson there. He did make some hard contact with the outside wall, and we'll have to spend some time on pit road getting some of that damage fixed. But going back up front, we are still being led by the 88 of Daniel Smallwood with the help of John LaBeouf. John LaBeouf second place, Dale Robertson third, Jeffrey Ford fourth, and Michael Knight in the fifth place spot. And the drivers pitted in about 9 laps ago, so they should not need to pit in. Well, if anything, they'll be pitting in for gas, but they do not need to take tires. Oh, we got a new viewer in the chat. We have Michelle Eisenhower. Welcome back, Michelle. It's been a very, very long time. Hope you're doing well. It's very great to see you again. Hope you've been well, too. And Smallwood right now leading everybody down pit road to get the gas and most likely some tires. Better safe than sorry. And so far we have Christian Swenson. He's eligible for the lucky dog. He is being shown 6 laps down, so he should be able to get back to 5 laps down this time around. The race off pit road was won by the 88 of Daniel Smallwood. Craig Hawkins comes out second. Craig Hawkins taking gas only, had a 4.8 second pit stop, same as his teammate, the 88 of Daniel Smallwood. This time actually had a lot more we had a lot more no tires to 2 tire heroes. So Daniel Smallwood and Craig Hawkins, no tires with full tanks of gas. We had Jeffrey Ford, Brennan Walter, and Brennan Chatley taking 2 tires with full tanks of gas, but everybody else taking 4 tires. So now the top 5 include Daniel Smallwood, Craig Hawkins, Jeffrey Ford, Brennan Walter, and John LaBeouf. And 60 of Cotton Lane did stay out. Cotton Lane, the new race leader this time around on lap 21. Unfortunately, his machine has seen better days due to the incident there during the first caution on lap number 10 with the bad hook. So with 21 laps in, we've seen 2 bad hook related incidents, and I'm pretty sure a lot more to come. And as you saw, I'm not sure if you noticed, but during the green flag runs, the drivers, the pushers of the lead machines were keeping a gap in between them and the drivers that were pushing, entering the turns to avoid the very deadly spins or hooks in this case. And Cotton Lane gives up the race lead and goes down pit road. Another race lead is back to the 88 of Smallwood. And ladies and gentlemen, Season 8 champion James O'Brien, this season's defending champion, and last season's championship was his 3rd championship with the Precision Racing League American Iracing Sunday Series, and now is trying to go for his 4th championship with the PRL this season. But it's going to be extra interesting to watch his journey as he tries to accomplish that. And also, ladies and gentlemen, the PRL, just a reminder, and for those who might not know, The Precision Racing League American Iracing Sunday Series always has had a team championship, and last season's team championship was given to the Road Trip Racing team, and season before that it was the Ford Lane Motorsports team. So last season Road Trip Racing team did win the season 8 championship, and so far the team championship standings as they stand, I'm gonna go over them. So Gen X Racing is leading in the team championship points, and Gen X2 Racing team is second place in points. The GRG team is third place in points. Road Trip Racing team fourth place in points. Rim Riding Racing fifth place in points. Ironic Sim Racing sixth place in points. Old Schools Motorsports seventh place in points. No Fear Racing is eighth place in points, and Breaking Point Racing is ninth place in points. So far 9 teams going at it for the team championship. So once again, Gen X Racing, Gen X2 Racing, GRG, Road Trip Racing, Rim Riding Racing, Ironic Sim Racing, Old Schools Motorsports, No Fear Racing, and Breaking Point Racing, 1st through 9th respectively in the team championships. Oh, Michelle, thank you very much for checking in tonight, and very sorry to hear about what you're going through, but we're going to keep you in our thoughts and prayers as usual. You're going to get through this. Stay strong. Lights on the pace car do turn off. We are being led by Smallwood with the help of 95 of Jeffrey Ford. Outside line being led by his teammate, or Smallwood's teammate, 23 of Craig Hawkins with the help of 99 of Brandon Walter. And Jeffrey Ford here, with the Ford Lane Motorsports team so far ahead of 911 of John LaBeouf. And ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder, we do have this season a total of 13 races in the regular race season, followed by 7 races in the Chase series, which gives us 20 races total, and that's 20 weeks. And the drivers trying to get themselves locked into this chase to go against James O'Brien for that championship. And so far, only 2 drivers locked into the chase. That's Kevin Whitaker and Brian Wayand. Exiting turn 4, going green this time around, as we almost had some deadly contact between Hawkins and Ford, and that pace car dips off, and Smallwood still holding pace speed, and it's a good thing it's still holding pace speed and waiting for the green flag, because at a super speedway, if you do end up jumping the start, you just might end up paying the price. The green flag flies, and Smallwood finds that gas pedal. Craig Hawkins right beside him, trying to get to his teammate, and Smallwood goes up high and leaving Jeffrey Ford on the inside line. And now Jeffrey Ford is being assisted by the 911 of John LaBeouf. So 2 teammates on the outside line, and now inside line John LaBeouf, Brandon Walter, and also the 59 of Brennan Chetley are in line. And Brandon Chatley here still doing amazing despite his heavy damage from the incident there early on, unfortunately. And he so far is depending on the draft of the 99 of Brandon Walter and his heavy foot to counter it. 64 of Michael Knight being assisted by the 79 of Joshua Witherspoon. So far they're trying to help the outside line come back to life, assisting the 88 of Smallwood and 23 of Craig Hawkins. But so far they have a big gap before they can get to them. And ladies and gentlemen, I talked about how teamwork makes the dream work. With that said, I'm going to go over the teams that are racing here tonight. So Old Schools Motorsports, Craig Hawkins and Daniel Smallwood, including Sean Dower. But so far we only have Daniel Smallwood and Craig Hawkins in Old Schools Motorsports racing tonight. No Fear Racing with John LaBeouf, Trevor White and Brody Green. That's Brody Green, Trevor White and John LaBeouf with No Fear Racing. The Road Trip Racing team, last season's champions. We have Paul D. Johnson, James O'Brien, David Dreckman, and Brandon Walter with Road Trip Racing Team. Ironic Sim Racing with Ronald McManus, Chris Perez, Jerome Berthome, and Danny Duchesne. I repeat, Danny Duchesne, Jerome Berthome, Chris Perez, and Ronald McManus with the Ironic Sim Racing Team. Breaking Point Racing, that's Breaking Point Racing. Brandon Massey and Ken Caruthers has a two-man team. That's Brandon Massey and Ken Caruthers two-man team. Gen X Racing, Kevin Whitaker, Brian Wayand, Richard Regan Jr. and Christian Swenson. That's Christian Swenson, Richard Regan, Brian Wayand, and Kevin Whitaker with the Gen X Racing team. Gen X2 team, Stephen Aguiar, Seth Silverio, and Joseph Yankins with Gen X2 team. GRG has Ian Lane, Josh Bachman, Joshua Witherspoon, and Michael Knight. That's Michael Knight, Joshua Witherspoon, Josh Bachman, and Ian Lane with GRG. And last but not least, the Rim Riding Racing. That's Rim Riding Racing. Kyle Souza, Colton Lane, Stephen Mattox. That's Stephen Mattox, Colton Lane, Kyle Souza, Rim Riding Racing. And going back to the race up front here so far, 911 of John LaBeouf trying to get the outside line to work with a new leader 95 of Jeffrey Ford. And John LaBeouf so far just waiting for assistance, and the assistance here, the closest assistance being, actually looks like John LaBeouf gave up and went to be between David, the 59 of Brennan Chatley, and the 23 of Craig Hawkins. I shouldn't really use the word give up, but he chose to get down to the inside to avoid losing more time and spots. And unfortunately, we've lost two drivers here so far tonight, Brian Wayand and Rob Thomas. Oh, up front there, Jeffrey Ford got out of line and lost the lead. And now the lead has been handed back to the 88 of Smallwood. The outside line is slowly coming to life, but 911 of John LaBeouf is trying to side draft, or trying to get to the inside, trying to get as close to the inside as he can to cover less distance. 95 of Ford goes 3 wide against Brennan Chatley on the outside, third lane. Jeffrey Ford going 3 wide on his own, hoping that the damage on Chatley's machine is going to affect him negatively. But so far, looks like it's going to bite him. And by him, I mean Ford. Ford is trying to get back in line, but so far, having no luck. He might have a chance behind 79 of Witherspoon. Yep, Ford is able to tuck in line behind Witherspoon, and that places him into the 12th place spot. And Road Trip Racing driver David Dreckman here on the inside behind 35 of Rory Collins. Rory Collins has come a very long way tonight from 30th place to the 9th place position and climbing. And 2 drivers going all the way high, trying to go at the back of the pack because it looks like it's getting wild up front. So we have Witherspoon and 64 of Michael Knight trying to go back to the back of the pack. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with 31 laps in and 60 laps to go, gonna take our first commercial break of the evening. We'll be right back, so please stay tuned.
Don't let your first date be your last. Visit People Against Distracted Driving at PADD.org.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the iRacers.Lounge podcast, brought to you by iRacers.Lounge podcast, round 4 of 13. Precision Racing League AMSOIL American Iracing Sunday series, brought to you by AMSOIL, that's AMSOIL. They do specialize in synthetic lubricants for vehicles and equipment, and they are the first in synthetics. And ladies and gentlemen, speaking of the Precision Racing League, check them out at precisionracingleague.com. They have a lot to offer, and they have races about 5 days a week. They have road racing and oval racing. So you guys check them out once again, precisionracingleague.com. Well, going back to tonight's race here, we are being led by 23 of Craig Hawkins, Daniel Smallwood 2nd, John LaBeouf 3rd, Stephen Mattox 4th, Josh Mayu 5th, Brennan Walters 6th, Brendan Chatley 7th, Jeffrey Ford 8th, Chris Perez 9th, and Rory Collins in the 10th place spot. And so far, everybody prefers to be on the inside, at least up front. But for the back in the pack, we have 41 of Chris Perez as well, trying to get the outside line going with the help of 78 of Ronald McManus. And also now we have David Dreckman in this mix. David Dreckman with the help of the 1-1 of Brandon Massey. And somewhat of a pack being led by the 5 of Kevin Whitaker with the help of Richard Regan Jr. We also have the 81 of Seth Silverio and Stephen Aguiar, including Corey Smith in the mix. Nine of James O'Brien. James O'Brien has been keeping a low profile all race long this far. Just buying his time, just trying to stay alive, trying to keep that machine as clean as he can, because the cleanest machine always wins. Well, in theory, it should win, but it's not always the case. But here, what I'm trying to say basically is the cleanest machine and will most likely have the most speed. And James O'Brien trying to be one of the cleanest machines out there. For the back in the pack, we have 3 drivers off the pace. 00 of Kyle Souza, Paul D. Johnson, and Ken Caruthers as a 3-car pack. But unfortunately, all 3 drivers in that pack, Souza, Caruthers, and Johnson, have one thing in common. They all have damage. Going back up front, the 911 of John LaBeouf, still trying to take over the race lead against the 23 of Craig Hawkins with the help of 95 of Ford. And ladies and gentlemen, one thing I forgot to mention until now, they have a special treat here with PRL this season. There's something called the Transdo Cup. That's the Transdo Cup. Brought to you by Transdo Transport and Logistics. That's Transdo Transport and Logistics. And that's that the Transdo will be giving $75 to the driver with the cleanest record at the end of the season. And what that means is that, well, there are a few qualifications for the driver to meet. The driver has to make at least 16 of the 20 races all season long and must complete at least 75% of every single race. So once again, $75 to the cleanest driver, or the safest driver at the end of the season, brought to you by the Transdo Transport and Logistics.
Well, Sean, these guys have been 19 to 21 laps since their last pit. These guys will be pitting within the next 5 to 8 laps. Most laps around here you can get usually right about 25 to 30 laps on a tank of fuel. So we're getting close to green flag pit stops.
Oh, indeed, yes, those green flag pit stops do separate the men from the boys. And at the same time, we'll be seeing a lot of teammates trying to get together because there is strength in numbers on a super speedway like this, and also Daytona included. So with that said, yes, fingers crossed for those upcoming green flag pit stops. And once we see a lot more single file taking place, that is a sign of green flag pit stops on the way. And as we speak, looks like the front pack is actually broken up into 5 cars only. So something might have happened, most likely a big checkup, and now the second pack is actually way bigger than the first pack. And that second pack being led by Rory Collins. We also have Colton Lane, Dale Robertson, Brendan Chatley, Josh Mayu, Brandon Massey, Michael Knight, Chris Perez, Ronald McManus, Kevin Whitaker, Richard Regan Jr., Seth Silverio, Joshua Witherspoon, Stephen Aguiar, 10 of Corey Smith, David Dreckman, James O'Brien as well in that mix. Yep, there is strength in numbers, so once we get close to the drivers pitting in, they all will try and get as close as they can to the lead pack, or to the leaders in this case, so that way they can be able to benefit from those green flag pit stops. Because if it ends up going green all the way and they end up losing some time off on pit road, that might end up hurting them. And with some 3 wide in the second pack, 3 wide in the second pack, the 5 of Whitaker on the outside with the help of his teammates. The outside lane from third lane, that is about 5 to 6 machines strong. That's a lot of machines on the outside. They're pushing 201 plus miles per hour and entering turn number 2 here. Exiting turn 2, they should have a slingshot. Yep, slingshot engaged, and their speed is getting nothing but greater. Kevin Whitaker, Richard Regan, Seth Silverio, Stephen Aguiar, Corey Smith, and also we had James O'Brien, who actually lost some speed. Yep, 3 wide still going on. Rory Collins trying to just hang on tight, getting bad air from both sides, and now he's about to assist the 99 of Walter in the middle lane. The whole outside line, 5 machines strong, starting with Kevin Whitaker all the way back to the 10 of Corey Smith, end up clearing the middle lane and drop down. Great job. Looks like the 5 of Kevin Whitaker is leading in all the drivers on the middle to outside lane. Doing the Q line basically, which means they exit high to get that to get less wheel scrub or less tire scrub, less friction at the same time to maintain the most speed possible, so they can be able to catch that lead pack in a hurry.
Well, Sean, we just hit the halfway point. I've been watching the gap between Kevin Whitaker and Steven Maddox, and it is dropping down. It was 2.1, it's down to 1.9. So that group there with Kevin Whitaker, Richard Regan, Seth Silverio, Stephen Aguiar, Corey Smith, and James O'Brien is actually gaining on the leaders.
Oh man, and you said it, 1.9 second gap. And it's known, ladies and gentlemen, that 1.8 seconds is the draft range for these machines. So they'll be able to catch that lead pack in no time, because now they have the extra draft from that lead pack. Yes, Whitaker here was pushing about 200 and 201 miles per hour entering turn number 3. But looks like his pusher, Richard Regan, had to back off due to overheating. And now the drivers having 26 to 27 laps since their last pit stops. And actually the pack here being led by Kevin Whitaker has put away from a different pack now. Well, it was once a big pack, but they're back down to now 2 packs actually. So 79 of Josh Witherspoon with the help of Mike O'Knight, and behind that we have Josh Mayu, David Dreckman, Colton Lane, Rory Collins, Chris Perez, and also including Brennan Chatley and Ron McManus in a pack of their own. And I have a feeling that setups have a lot to do with why this pack has been separated from the pack being led by Whitaker. So once again, those setups are very, very important. Super speedways, including that teamwork, it's a very good combination when you have both. The gap between the second pack and the lead pack is now down to 1.6. Well, actually, it went down to 1.6 seconds, but looks like they lost 2/10 of a second this lap. So it looks like the gap in between the two packs is now up to 1.8 seconds. Second pack is peeling off the Gen X Racing team. Kevin Whitaker, Richard Regan, Seth Silverio going down pit road as we speak, including Steven Aguiar and Corey Smith. 5 drivers pitting in for their first green flag pit stops of the evening. There is strength in numbers with them being, all 5 of them, they should be able to maintain 200 plus miles an hour as a team. But up front, Craig Hawkins, Daniel Smallwood, John LaBeouf, and Jeffrey Ford. Are they going to pit in this time? Nope, they're staying out, going around one more time. And going, oh, actually we have more drivers pitting in. We have Chris Perez and Ronald McManus, a 2-man team pitting in this time. And the pack that just left pit road, Steven Aguiar, Corey Smith, Seth Silverio, Kevin Whitaker, and Richard Regan Jr. getting caught by the leaders. Gonna be going one lap down before too long. But the leaders still have not yet pitted in. But still, it's never a good thing to get overtaken by the leaders. Yep, Craig Hawkins, Daniel Smallwood, John LaBeouf, Jeffrey Ford going around these drivers, and they are now one lap down. Pit road is very, very busy. Stephen Mattox, James O'Brien, Brennan Chatley, Josh Mayu, Cotton Lane, Dale Robertson, Brandon Massey, Rory Collins, and Brandon Walter all down pit road. That's over 7 drivers at the same time on pit road. And so far, we only have 7 drivers on the lead lap who need to pit in. Namely, actually, that just went down to 6 because David Dreckman is on pit road solo. That is not a good thing for David Dreckman. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get with his teammates. So now we have Craig Hawkins, Daniel Smallwood, John LaBeouf, Jeffrey Ford, Joshua Witherspoon, and Michael Knight still needing to pit in. They have 33 laps on their tires and tanks.
Well, I mean, if these guys want a full tank of fuel, Sean, that means we're still going to have one more pit stop here tonight.
Oh, indeed, yes. At this point, we have 38 laps to go. And Craig Hawkins, once again, the Craig Hawkins pack has 33 laps since their last pit stop. So if they can make it 3 more laps, they should be able to make it on just 1 pit stop. But for the drivers, the other ones who just pitted in, well, in this case, everybody else, but the drivers who have stayed out this far will still need to pit in 1 more time. The front runners going around here 1 more lap, now coming up to 35 laps since their last pit stops. And surprisingly, Craig Hawkins and Smallwood did not take tires at all this far until even before their last pit stop under caution. And I'm surprised they're still doing well regardless, not getting loose, not getting tight. That is very, very surprising and impressive. Amazing work on the setup for these machines.
I know what they're doing, Sean. They're trying to push the envelope so they only have to pit one more time. Pit, just this time pit, and then be able to make it the remainder of the race. They're trying to fuel race.
And Dave, they are in luck if they go around one more lap. If they can make it just this one lap, they will be able to make it on just that one pit stop. Great strategy indeed. Yep, pit strategy as well does come into play, and it separates the men from the boys. It could be the difference between getting a spot or losing a position. And yes, now these drivers up front, the top 6 drivers, Craig Hawkins, Daniel Smallwood, John LaBeouf, Jeffrey Ford, Joshua Witherspoon, and Michael Knight can make it on just one more pit stop. And going to the second pack, Kevin Whitaker is leading a very big pack single. Oh, the caution flies. Oh, man, what happened? Gonna back it up and see what happened.
That's going to be the 79 of Joshua Witherspoon here. Let's see if we can see exactly what happened here. As he was being pushed by the 64 machine. Talladega luck, just a wrong push, wrong time, sent him around into the outside wall. No other cars involved here. Let's go in the cockpit and just watch that hard hit to the outside wall. But everybody else was able to get down and get around him. And that is going to be our third caution here of the night. But that is a good break there for the 23 of Craig Hawkins and those front 6. Is they're going to be able to pit and everybody else is going to have to stay out and get the wave around.
Oh, man. Yep, this caution has definitely shaken things up, but I'm pretty sure that the top 6 drivers, Hawkins included, did not want to see the caution because they had a very good lead against everybody else, and they were not going to have to pit in a second time while everybody else was going to have to pit in. So I'm pretty sure they might be a little bit disappointed, but things have been shaken up once again. And also going back up front here, still being led by Craig Hawkins, Daniel Smallwood 2nd, John LaBeouf 3rd, Jeffrey Ford 4th, Michael Knight 5th, and Joshua Witherspoon in the 6th place position. And Hawkins leading his other 5 drivers down pit road with him.
Now, the question is, okay, these guys will have 7 less laps than everybody else. The question is with these caution laps, will those guys that are 8 laps, 7 laps more than them be able to save enough fuel so they don't have to pit again? That's going to be the question. Also, you got to take into effect if there's going to be any more cautions here. I mean, we still got 34 laps to go.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, that makes it very, very, very interesting. Yeah, it makes me wonder. And by the looks of it, I noticed Craig Hawkins and Smallwood were able to go about, I believe that was, actually I forget, that was about 41 to 42 laps on their tanks. So if that's them running it dry, which is definitely not, it's not. Honestly, it's very difficult to determine that at the moment, so we're going to have to find out here before too long. But Kevin Whitaker was able to get the wave around the pace car, got the lucky dog, but that leaves his whole team and the rest of the field still a lap down. So the good thing about this for Kevin Whitaker is that unlike his team and the rest of the field, he will be able to go down pit road and get 4 tires, full tank of gas, and be back out there with fresh stickers. And going back up front, Craig Hawkins able to maintain the lead off pit road. Daniel Smallwood comes out 2nd, Jeffrey Ford 3rd, John LaBeouf 4th, Michael Knight 5th. And we also have Joshua Witherspoon in the 6th place position. And by the looks of it, the top 6 drivers all decided to take 4 tires with full tanks of gas this time around. And ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the iRacers.Lounge podcast, brought to you by iRacers.Lounge podcast, part of round 4 of 13 with the Precision Racing League AmSawyer American Iracing Sunday series, brought to you by AmSawyer. That's AMSOIL. They specialize in synthetic lubricants for vehicles and equipment, and they are the first in synthetics. And ladies and gentlemen, we have 13 races in the regular race season, followed by 7 races in the Chase series, for a total of 20 races. And so far we have been able to knock out 3 races of the 13, with tonight's race being the 4th of the 13. And the status check on Joshua Witherspoon, who got caught up in the incident there, is currently here, still in the 6th place position with the dinged up machine. He did get that damage very, very early on into tonight's race. A big dent in the rear end, most likely from a bad push, but the front end is very, very clean on that Texas machine. And 77 of Ken Caruthers. I haven't spoken much of Ken Caruthers, if any, here tonight, but he had some bad luck there early on, and that machine has seen better days, having most of its damage, actually all of its damage, on the front end. That the Camry, yeah, that is quite beat up. The left front, right front, and the hood, all the way down to the grill. Well, we are now back to 1 to green, and the whole entire field, except for the top 6 drivers, get the wave around. The pace car back on the lead lap. Just like David talked about, that means they do not have a chance to pit in under this caution. So hopefully they were able to save enough gas under the caution for them to be able to make it the rest of the way. And that gives the race lead back to Craig Hawkins, Smallwood 2nd, Jeffrey Ford 3rd, John LaBeouf 4th, Michael Knight 5th, and Josh Witherspoon 6th, and also Kevin Whitaker in that 7th place spot. In this lineup, we have Hawkins and Jeffrey Ford on the inside with the help of, well, the outside being led by Daniel Smallwood with the help of John LaBeouf. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat coming to you live right here on the online Sim Racing Network. That's right, turn up your engines, turn up your volume, turn up your sound, and the Crank It Up cam coming up once the green flag flies. Gonna get a chance to hear these V8 machines roar and sing as one, so stay tuned. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, was the Crank It App Cam, courtesy of the Online Sim Racing Network. Hope you guys enjoy listening to these V8 machines roar and sing as one, as we had some amazing 3 wides to go with it. Up front, as all the teammates were able to get together and were able to clear the middle lane and got down. So far here, the updated top 10, we have Kevin Whitaker, the new leader, Richard Regan, 2nd, Craig Hawkins, 3rd, Seth Silverio, 4th, Jeffrey Ford, 5th, Stephen Aguiar, 6th, Corey Smith, 7th, Michael Knight, 8th. That just changed, actually, that jumbled up. I'm going to start from the 5th place spot. So Jeffrey Ford, 5th, Stephen Aguiar, 6th, Michael Knight, 7th, Corey Smith, 8th, Joshua Witherspoon, 9th, and John LaBeouf in the 10th place position. And ladies and gentlemen, we have 25 laps to go with 66 laps complete. And some 3 wide taking place. We have Jeffrey Ford, Stephen Aguiar, 911, John LaBeouf, 3 wide as we speak. John LaBeouf getting some great assistance from the 88, Hobbs, Daniel Smallwood, and now the 2 drives in the middle lane drop down to the inside. That was 5 of Whitaker and the 22 of Richard Regan Jr., and that leaves the 81 of Seth Silverio to the middle lane with the help of the 8 of Stephen Aguiar. And now the 3rd lane so far seems to be dying. Their run has gone away, and they're trying to regroup and maybe just fall back in line and try and regenerate and recharge that run and go at it again. But so far, Smallwood is trying to catch a break or find a hole to get into, but so far having no luck. 9 of James O'Brien finally showing his face in the top 12, top 15, and now drops down behind the 95 of Ford on the inside line, but the outside line is still coming into play with Daniel Smallwood and John LaBeouf going at it, not giving up, and John LaBeouf getting as close as he can to the middle lane to cover the less distance. And so far here, Smallwood is also doing the same thing to so he can maybe stay hooked up to him on the exits. And if the drivers can stay hooked throughout the whole entire track, they will be having a lot of speed and momentum. And so far, John LaBeouf leading a slight nose entering turn 3 against everybody. It's only a matter of time before Daniel Smallwood, Stephen Aguiar, and Richard Regan sort of overheating. Yep, Smallwood already is overheating and is forced to back off to avoid blowing it up. Slingshot engaged off turn 2 by John LaBeouf and Daniel Smallwood. And so far they're trying to get around 8 of Aguiar and the 81 of Seth Silverio. It's very difficult to get past the inside line when there's a very good pusher on that middle lane. And so far the 8 of Steven Aguiar doing an amazing job with the 81 of Seth Silverio, who then drops down low ahead of the 5 of Kevin Whitaker. And that gives the lead of the middle lane to the 8 of Steven Aguiar with the help of the 1-0 of Corey Smith. Almost had some contact between LaBeouf and the 8 of Steven Aguiar, as John LaBeouf is actually trying his best to side draft the crap out of the middle lane to once again cover the least distance this far and benefit himself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with 21 laps to go and 70 laps complete, we're going to go ahead and take our first final commercial break of the evening. We'll be right back, so please stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the iRacers.Lounge podcast, brought to you by iRacers.Lounge podcast. This is round 4 of 13, Precision Racing League AMSOIL American Iracing Sunday series, brought to you by AMSOIL, that's AMSOIL. And they do specialize in synthetic lubricants for vehicles and equipment, and they are the first in synthetics. Also check out PRL, they have a lot to offer, road racing and oval racing. So their website is precisionracingleague.com. Well, going back to the race, ladies and gentlemen, we are under caution. We had another bad hook related incident took place between Paul G. Johnson and Ken Caruthers, and this brought out the caution, unfortunately. But here we are being led by 81 of Seth Silverio, Kevin Whitaker 2nd, Richard Regan Jr. 3rd, Corey Smith 4th, and John LeBoeuf in the 5th place spot. And going back to the question we had, or the doubts we had early on about whether or not the drivers who did not get a chance to pit in during the last caution were going to be able to make it. Now they will. They should be able to, because they'll save enough gas under this caution. At this point now, we only have 17 laps to go. And once the green flag flies, it will be go time, ladies and gentlemen. So everybody gonna try and find their teammates so they can, because they know at this point it's going to be all about the teamwork to be able to bring this thing home. Every single driver out there, with the exception of Brian Wayand and Kevin Whitaker, trying to get themselves locked into the chase. And so far here in the top 15, the heaviest movers we have Kevin Whitaker from 13th place to 2nd, Richard Regan Jr. from 22nd place to 3rd. We also have Stephen Aguiar from 12th to 6th, Daniel Smallwood 11th to 7th, James O'Brien 20th place to 9th, Stephen Mattox 23rd to 11th. We have Michael Knight from 18th to 12th. Josh Witherspoon from 13th to 21st to 13th. And also further down this list, we have Rory Collins from 30th place to 17th. And also Chris Perez 29th to 19th. So after this race is over, ladies and gentlemen, the drivers are going to have only 9 more races to get themselves locked into this chase. So we're going to see tonight we just might have another chase, I should say in this case, a new winner this season. By the end of tonight's race, to get themselves locked into this upcoming chase, hopefully. And unfortunately, we've lost one driver, 77 of Ken Caruthers, retiring here with 15 laps to go. We are now back 1 to green, being led by 81 of Seth Silverio. Leaders do have lane choice, so Seth starting on the outside with the help of the 10 of Corey Smith. Inside line being led by Kevin Whitaker with the help of 22 Richard Regan Jr. So far here in the top top 4, we have the Gen X Racing Team drivers. John LaBeouf with the Northia Racing Team. Stephen Aguiar with the Gen X2 team. Daniel Smallwood and Craig Hawkins again finding each other, 7th and 8th respectively, with the Old Schools team. And Road Trip Racing driver James O'Brien, 9th. And Jeffrey Ford here so far. He used to be the Ford Lane Motorsports driver. But now this season seems like he's not assigned to a team just yet. And that runs up the top 10. So 4 Gen X Racing drivers here controlling the start. The restart coming up in the race this far. And everybody just might go their separate ways once we get closer to the closing stages of the race. And we now have a 14-lap shootout coming up, going green this time around. And the pace car does dip off, and Seth finds the gas pedal. 22 of Richard Regan being a helping bumper to the 5 of Kevin Whitaker. The 1-0 Corey Smith was caught sleeping and so far trying to play catch-up with the help of the 8 of Stephen Aguiar. 9-1-1 John LaBeouf as well, trying to outshift 23 of Craig Hawkins side by side. Craig Hawkins getting a bump to life by his teammate, from his teammate 88 of Smallwood, and John LaBeouf goes up high to block the run of Hawkins, but they cross him over like the last puzzle. And so far 9-11 of John LaBeouf here on the outside, left out high and dry, trying to fall back in line. A lot of single file action taking place as we speak. John LaBeouf is hoping and praying for someone to jump up high and assist him, but so far he's having no luck. Well, he has 95 of Jeffrey Ford coming up to him, but Jeffrey Ford is a long ways back, about 3 car lengths back, well now 2 car lengths back, so he's actually getting there though. 88 of Smallwood and Craig Hawkins trying to get out of line, but they still have to clear John LaBeouf first. They're now stuck on the inside. Oh, Jeffrey Ford finds LaBeouf, but the caution flies. Oh man, we're gonna back it up and see what happened.
Well, that looks like that's going to involve the 70 of Joshua Witherspoon here again. Looks like the 3 of Dale Robertson just bumped in the wrong place, and around went the 70 up into, or 79 up into the outside wall, just a single car. Looks like everybody was able to get around him. So that we're going to line it up and do it again.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, that's an unfortunate incident, an unfortunate night for Josh Witherspoon, and this being his second time getting hooked like that. Unfortunately, and once again, it was not intentional at all. It is very, very difficult to get square on these machines while pushing. That's the price that they pay for the bump draft action. Well, going back up front, we are still being led by the 81 of Seth Silverio, Kevin Whitaker 2nd, Richard Regan Jr. 3rd, Corey Smith 4th, and Stephen Aguiar in the 5th place spot. And once we go green, we're going to have less than 10 laps to go. And the jumboed top 10, or the changes in the top 10 this far. Seth Silverio still the leader, Kevin Whitaker 2nd, Richard Regan Jr. 3rd, Corey Smith 4th, Stephen Aguiar 5th, Craig Hawkins 6th, Daniel Smallwood 7th, John LaBeouf 8th, James O'Brien 9th, and Jeffrey Ford rounding up the top 10. And with approximately 10 laps to go, let's try and get a race interview in. Let's focus on the 59 of Brendan Chatley. Well, ladies and gentlemen, joined up in the booth by the 5'9" of Brandon Chatley. How you doing tonight, man? Got a cup there, Brandon? Oh, unfortunately, we won't be able to get a word in with Brandon Chatley just yet. We are gonna try again here, hopefully, before the race ends. But this gives us time to pass it on to a different driver. Let's focus on the 64 of Michael Knight. Well, ladies and gentlemen, joined up in the booth by a GRG Racing driver, Michael Knight. Got to go up there, Michael.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Well, man, it's been way too long. How have you been?
Well, just hanging in here, staying out of the wrecks. I spun my teammate there on that last caution. I feel real bad about that.
Oh man, it happens, man. We've noticed that, every caution this far has been caused by bad hooks. It just goes to show how difficult or delicate, well, interesting that pushing is. But you've been doing well all race long. And how's the machine been handling this far?
Yeah, as far as handling, the car's been real good. It's real good in the draft. I don't know about leading, but I mean, as far as pulling up, it's great.
Oh, most definitely, man. And also, when it came into tonight's race, when it came to the setup building, how were you able to do that so well? Basically, what went into preparing for tonight's race? Sorry, I can't speak.
Oh, this setup has developed over several months, several races. These GRG guys are definitely spot on when they're working on these setups, and we're pretty competitive here at these super speedways.
Oh, indeed, man. Very glad to hear. You've been doing an amazing job all race long this far. You've come from 18th place to 11th. You were way up there early on, and it's going to get nothing but more intense as the green flag flies. What are your plans from now on?
Just race it out here, and whatever happens, happens. I'm going to try to make my way to the front. Be hard to get around them Gen X guys, but we'll do our best here.
Oh, that is all you can do, brother. You're doing well this far, man. We look forward to seeing you 10 spots higher. Make us proud.
All right, we appreciate it.
That was a GRG Racing driver 64 of Michael Knight, currently in the 11th place spot behind the 95 of Jeffrey Ford. So, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to get with your team, get with your teammates, because it's going to be wild. And so far, we have drivers like Daniel Smallwood and Craig Hawkins, who will be forced to start side by side. So they will have to find a way to get to each other. So hopefully they will be able to do that. So we have Steven Aguiar, Corey Smith, Richard Regan, Kevin Whitaker, who will be starting side by side. Well, they're first through fourth, respectively. Well, actually, that's first through fifth with Seth Silveri included. So there is no harm there, as the drivers will try and get around them. And John LaBeouf, so far, Northia Racing driver here in 8th place. James O'Brien, Road Trip Racing 9th. And Ford still 10th. Oh, some bad news, ladies and gentlemen. We have a rain delay coming up here in about 1 minute 10 seconds. That means we're not going to be able to complete all 90 laps tonight. And that approximates us. It looks like we have about 3 more laps to go. We might have a 2-lap shootout if we're lucky enough. And the drivers lining up here double wide. Well, this lineup, 81, Seth Silveri with the help of Richard Regan Jr. on the inside, with the help of outside line being led by Kevin Whitaker, with the help of the 10 of Corey Smith. Also, we have Stephen Aguiar and Craig Hawkins starting side by side. Daniel Smallwood and John LaBeouf side by side. James O'Brien and 95 of Ford as well side by side. Michael Knight, Stephen Mattox side by side. Brendan Chatley and Dale Robertson side by side. And Brandon Massey and Chris Perez as well side by side. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a one-lap shootout coming up. That's right. Once the green flag flies, the white flag flies. That's going to be the final lap, which means the drivers will be getting up to speed and racing at the exact same time. That means one thing, ladies and gentlemen. That means that every man for himself. The gloves are off. We're going to be seeing 0% give and 100% take. Let's see what happens. And hang on to your seat. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Pace car dips off for the final time tonight, and Seth still holding pace speed. Seth finds that gas pedal. His teammates, the 22, Richard Regan, all over his back bumper. Outside line, Kevin Whitaker caught sleeping, falls back in line, third place in line. And also Corey Smith trying to fall back in line, but the 8 of Aguiar to his inside. The green flag flies. The white flag is out as well. Contact between Stephen Aguiar and Craig Hawkins. And Craig Hawkins and his teammate has found each other. That's Craig Hawkins and 88 of Smallwood here so far. Single foul. Actually, it looks like the next flag is the white flag, so we have one more lap to go. That just changed right there. The 5 Whitaker goes all the way high to get the outside lane going, and the 8 of Aguiar joins him. He is a helping hand, a helping bumper. And now Whitaker and Aguiar going against Smith, Richard Regan, and Seth Silverio. Oh. Scratch that. This was the checkered flag. Yes, the race is over. Seth brings this thing home. Kevin Whitaker comes out second. Richard Regan Jr. third. Stephen Aguiar fourth. And Corey Smith in the 5th place spot. And I do apologize for the misconfusion or misconception, or the confusion there at the very end of whether or not that was the final lap. I was getting some wrong data from my end here, unfortunately, but that was the top 5 drivers there, respectively, and interviews coming up. Well, Seth, you earned it, so please burn it down. We're joined up in the booth by the top 3 drivers, Seth Silverio, Kevin Whitaker, and Richard Regan Jr. We're going to start with tonight's race winner, the 81 of Seth Silverio. Gonna come up there, Seth?
Yep, got you loud and clear.
How you doing tonight?
Doing well. Glad we were able to pull out this win for AMSOIL and Gen X Racing. I had a lot of fun having my teammates push me to the win. Big thanks to Richard right there, pushing me to the win right there. Big help from him.
Oh, absolutely, man. Great success on your part here tonight. And also, as a team, you were able to stay together all race long and executed some excellent green flag pit stops at the same time. And speaking of those green flag pit stops, Seth, we noticed that you guys might have had to pit in one more time compared to those who stayed out who would not have pitted in another time. Basically, how do you feel that the caution affected you guys?
Well, we had a plan, we had a strategy coming up that we were all going to pit as a group, and we would get that train going again. We had our race because we felt that we were racing on that hot line. We were faster than everybody on the track, especially when we got teamed up together. And we really weren't worried about losing any positions because we felt at the caution when it came out, we had the first wave around cars, and we weren't really worried about fuel. We had enough fuel to get to the end. So it was just really fun. I'm really glad for Amsoil and Gen X Racing to bring it to you guys. So.
Absolutely, man. Great success on your part. Also, congratulations on getting yourself locked into this chase. And that's a very, very great accomplishment with only 4 races in. Well, before you go celebrate there, Seth, any final words?
Once again, I'd like to thank Gen X Racing and Amsoil. Thank Richard again for pushing me to the win. And good job, Gen X drivers, for a 1 through 5 finish there. So good job, everybody. And I'm glad to win it for the team. So thanks.
Well, congrats on the success all race long tonight, Seth, and see you again on the same spot, hopefully, next week at Dover. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too, man.
That was Gen X Racing driver Seth Silverio. Next in line is the points leader, Kevin Whitaker. Gotta come up there, Kevin.
Yep, go ahead.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. That was a lot of fun.
Oh man, I can imagine, and it definitely looked like it. You guys were able to stay as a team and worked as a team, and you yourself were led your team all race long. Tell us about that, about you leading your team, the whole train basically. Was it because of the setup?
Yeah, I was running a little bit higher tape than most of the other guys, and yeah, Richard and Seth just felt like they would be better, kind of pushing right behind me. And it worked out in my favor the entire race until Seth got in front of me there.
Oh, most definitely, man. Well, you guys were able to plan it out well, and you did an amazing job all race long tonight. And so far, Kevin, looks like your season is going well, and that's amazing to see you locked yourself into the chase. The first race, you won the first 2 races, and have been points leader ever since with your teammate Richard, only 3 points behind you. Starting tonight's race, great success. That does not go unnoticed. And next week, there, Kevin, we are moving on to Dover International. What do you expect from Dover?
I think I'm pretty good there, so as long as we can get a setup dialed in, I expect the same result. Hopefully a win, though.
Oh, 10-4, man. Going for your 3rd win this season. Very, very impressive. Well, congrats on your success once again. And any final words before you go? Any final words?
Yeah, I mean, I say it every week, but Gen X Racing, I mean, these guys are a pleasure to work with and get it done every week. So them and Amsoil, again, for coming on board, and you guys for streaming.
Congrats on your success this week, tonight here at Talladega, and look forward to seeing you again 1 spot higher, hopefully for your 3rd win like you wish. At Dover next week. Have a good night. Go celebrate.
10-4. Have a good night.
That was Gen X Racing driver Kevin Whitaker. And next in line is 2nd place in points, his teammate, Richard Regan Jr. Got a couple there, Richard?
Yes, sir.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic now. I mean, damn, that was one hell of a race right there.
Oh, indeed, man. You were able to stay alive, stay out of trouble, and keep your machine clean. Having one of the cleanest machines out there, that Amsoil Ford Mustang, never been better. How was your experience tonight, man? What were you seeing out there?
You know, the Amsoil Ford Mustang Dominator Racing Oil did really good today. Basically, the plan from the start was to drop to the back, and you know, it's unfortunate that Christian and Brian got involved in the wreck there. I was trying to convince them to get to the back, but they were being a little stubborn up there. So that sucks that they weren't able to be involved. But I mean, all in all, it was a great race for Gen X Racing. I can't thank everybody on Gen X Racing enough for all the time and effort that they put into this. We just got to go out there next week at Dover and do the same thing, and I couldn't ask for better teammates.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, we're also very sorry to hear about your other teammates there getting involved in the incidents there early on in tonight's race, but you're still able to be successful as a team, finishing 1 through 5th respectively. That is very, very impressive. And Richard, man, you're only 3 points. You are 3 points behind your teammate there, Kevin. Starting tonight's race, what are your expectations basically for all season long? Because once it comes down to it, you guys might have to break up that friendship.
Nah, they won't break up no friendship. You know, I just gotta put it all together. I've been close a few times this season to getting that win, and you know, Bristol, Kevin barely got me with like 5 laps to go. I was kind of hoping I'd finish ahead of him today because I know he led a lap, I think, and so he got bonus points for that. I didn't lead anything, and he finished ahead of me, so he's going to stretch out that point lead a little bit. But, you know, I'm not expecting me to get a win next week at Dover because that's not the best track for me. I'm going to definitely put in a lot of practice this week and get better, and, you know, who knows what will happen. Maybe I can get it done next week.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, it's been a great success on your part all season long, and you are an amazing driver. And even though you're doubting yourself having a win next week, we still look forward to seeing you 2 spots higher than today at Dover. Hopefully you get your first win there. That would be quite amazing. Well, before you go to final words.
I just want to thank AMSOIL for coming on board with Gen X Racing. Everybody at Gen X, you guys at OSRN for broadcasting, doing a great job. And yeah, let's go get them next week.
Well, congrats, brother. Go celebrate, and see you again next week.
Thank you.
That was Gen X Racing driver Richard Regan Jr., 2nd place in points. So that was the interviews, Seth Silverio, Kevin Whitaker, and Richard Regan, and that's 1st through 3rd, respectively. And that was a heck of a race, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being a part of the action. This was the iRacers.Lounge podcast, brought to you by iRacers.Lounge podcast for round 4 of 13. Precision Racing League AMSOIL American Iracing Sunday series. Check them out at amsoil.com. They do specialize in synthetic lubricants for vehicles and equipment, and they are the first in synthetics. Also, don't forget to check out the Precision Racing League at precisionracingleague.com. They have a lot to offer. Road racing and oval racing. You guys can join any of those series based on preference and experience. Well, next race is going to be held at Dover International, going from a super speedway to a short track. Monster Mile is going to be a heck of a race because that track has been known to claim a lot of drivers. So we're going to see a lot of, we're going to see how these drivers handle that challenge that is going from this track to that. And that's going to be entitled the Established Traffic Control. That's the Established Traffic Control Round 5 at Dover. And now we only have 9 races left in the regular race season before the chase begins. Well, Dave, any thoughts?
That was a great race, but we're going to a whole nother ballpark going next week. So, see what these drivers got.
Oh, indeed. And sadly, these setups here at Talladega will not work. You know, they won't be able to work at Dover. So these drivers will be getting together and building some setups and putting in some practice all week long before next week. I am Sean Zulu, and David Everly behind the cameras, also being my right-hand man. And thank you very much. Thank you for being a part of the action tonight. The next broadcast we have here, myself and David Everly, will be on Tuesday night with the Extreme Motorsports Track Series. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Have a good night.